This is the Mop-Up. I'm David Feldman in New York City. On today's show, Donald Trump's poll numbers come crashing down as Americans discover what's in that one big, beautiful bill, Donald Trump's signature piece of legislation that is the 2026 budget. A new CNN poll shows that 69% of Americans now disapprove of that bill. The number is only expected to climb. That disapproval number is expected to climb after summer comes to an end and voters start paying attention to what was actually in it and what is about to be done to them. Maureen Comey, the prosecutor in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and who helped the Southern District of New York prepare the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein, was fired on Wednesday by Attorney General Pam Bondi. Maureen Comey is the daughter of FBI Director James Comey, who Trump fired back in 2017 after Comey refused to stop looking into Russiagate. The New York Times reporting that Maureen Comey was fired late Wednesday night in a short letter that said her firing was based on powers granted to the president in Article 2 of the Constitution. I believe it's the payback clause. Trump is a strong believer in paying people back unless it's what he owes on his bill. The Times also reporting that Trump is now claiming the Epstein files, which Pam Bondi refuses to release, were written by Democrats, including chief among them James Comey, in order to embarrass Donald Trump. But James Comey is, or at least was, a Republican. I'll have more on the Epstein files momentarily. The firing of Maureen Comey is all part of Donald Trump's ongoing revenge tour against Comey, who, after getting fired from the FBI, received the mother of all audits from the Internal Revenue Service, as did Comey's replacement at the FBI, Andrew McCabe, who became acting FBI director until Trump fired him as well, all in the same year. And then both men received the mother of all audits, which is time-consuming, costs thousands of dollars for these guys to hire accountants and lawyers. It's described as a living autopsy. Back in 2022, the New York Times reported that the year Comey was audited, that was in 2017 after he got fired, the year he was audited, out of 153 million taxpayers that year, only 5,000 received this mother of all audits. The odds that both Andrew McCabe and James Comey would both receive that same audit the year they were both fired as FBI directors because they refused to stop looking into Russiagate. The odds that both men received the mother of all audits, those odds are impossible to calculate. The Times said after the audit was conducted, turns out James Comey and his wife overpaid their taxes and received a refund of $347. McCabe reportedly owed a tiny amount and immediately paid it. Last week, CIA Director John Ratcliffe made criminal referrals to the Justice Department accusing James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan of making false statements before Congress regarding Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, despite the Mueller report backing them up. The Secret Service brought James Comey in for questioning in May of this year and conducted several interviews with him on the phone after Comey posted 8647 on Instagram. Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. 86, as Comey and I understand it, means to toss out of a bar. But the MAGA universe insisted 86 means something far worse. The New York Times reports that the Secret Service put a tail on Comey and began following him and his wife, all because of a post that read 8647. Secret Service started following Comey, but they were really just following orders and wasting my tax dollars. On Wednesday, Donald Trump publicly accused Democratic Senator Adam Schiff of mortgage fraud right after William Pulte, director of the U.S. Federal Housing Finance Agency, made a criminal referral to the Justice Department accusing Adam Schiff of falsifying his financial documents when he secured a lower interest rate on his home in Maryland. According to Trump, Schiff declared a condo in California as his primary residence instead of his home in Maryland. That's all they could get on Adam Schiff. Schiff served on the January 6th committee, was an impeachment manager during the first Trump impeachment, and chaired the House Intelligence Committee from 2019 to 2023, where he played a crucial role conducting hearings looking into Vladimir Putin's interference in the 2016 presidential election. What are the odds that he's now being accused of mortgage fraud? In April of this year, the director of that very same federal House Finance Agency, the director, William Pulte again, he made a criminal referral to the Justice Department accusing New York State Attorney General Letitia James of falsifying records to obtain favorable mortgages on two homes, one in Virginia and another in Brooklyn. That's all they could find on Letitia James. But this guy Pulte, the guy who's digging up mortgage fraud for Trump, I smell our next Supreme Court justice. Or maybe it's time to change the cat box. New York State Attorney General Letitia James secured a $500 million judgment against Donald Trump last year after he was found guilty of falsifying records in order to secure hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in loans at favorable interest rates. He lied about his net worth. He's currently appealing that decision. But what are the odds that Letitia James, the one who nailed him on bank fraud, what are the odds that she is now being accused of mortgage fraud? Incalculable. Letitia James also succeeded in shutting down the Donald Trump Charitable Foundation. Yes, there used to be a Donald Trump Charitable Foundation. Well, it got shut down, but the entire Donald Trump for President Super PAC is a charitable foundation, and that charity is Donald Trump. But Letitia James got the Donald Trump Charitable Foundation shut down in 2019 while he was president, after it was discovered that his charitable foundation, among other crimes, used $10,000 to buy a portrait of Donald Trump that now hangs in one of his properties. I think it hangs in Mar-a-Lago. And his foundation also used donations to his foundation to donate to Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi's re-election campaign. That donation to Pam Bondi was delivered in September of 2013. Right after receiving that donation from Donald Trump's charitable foundation, Pam Bondi's office in October of 2013, just a month after receiving that donation, her office announced it would not be joining several other states in a class action suit against Trump University. What are the odds? What are the odds that Donald Trump makes an illegal campaign donation to Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi's re-election campaign, and a month later, she refuses to prosecute Trump University. I don't have a calculator to figure out those odds. Well, Trump agreed to settle the Trump University lawsuit for $25 million, and he shut the university down. Trump then agreed to settle Letitia James's lawsuit. That's the one accusing him of stealing from donors to his charitable foundation. He agreed to shut down his charitable foundation. He promised, as part of the settlement, never to start a charity ever again in the state of New York, and he paid $2 million in restitutions to various charities. The President of the United States is forbidden from starting a charity in the state of New York or hosting a charity event. That's our president. Well, Trump is firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Then he's not firing him. Then he is firing him. The point is, Trump doesn't like Jerome Powell. And on Wednesday, this is from the Daily Beast, they caught this. Trump laid into Fed Chair Jerome Powell in front of reporters saying, quote, Jerome Powell is a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that Biden put him in and extended him, unquote. There's only one problem. It was Donald Trump who appointed Jerome Powell during his first administration. Biden didn't appoint Jerome Powell. Biden renominated him, but Jerome Powell was put in there by Donald Trump. But tell me again about Joe Biden's cognitive decline. This all reminds me, I love this. This is fantastic. Bill O'Reilly. This reminds me of Bill O'Reilly appearing on News Nation yesterday. Remember Bill O'Reilly? He left Fox News back in April of 2017 during the dawn of the Me Too movement. At least it was the dawn of the Me Too movement for white people. Black people started the Me Too movement like a decade earlier. But the Me Too movement for white people began in 2017, and Bill O'Reilly left in 2017. He was ushered out the door as a tsunami of sexual harassment allegations and accusations of inappropriate behavior piled up against Bill O'Reilly. Although, to be fair, there had been plenty of other accusations against Bill O'Reilly going back at least 12 years before that. The New York Times, in fact, reported that Fox News, before the Me Too movement, was forced to pay out somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million to settle with several Fox News employees, accusing Bill O'Reilly, accusing him of stuff. What kind of stuff? Well, let's just say loofah talk. Google Bill O'Reilly and the word loofah. So how much was that? Close to $50 million in settlements that they paid out before the Me Too movement. But Bill O'Reilly, to his credit, has found a second act with his podcast. And he's a frequent guest on Chris Cuomo's News Nation show. And he's on Newsmax all the time. Plus, he continues to top the New York Times best-selling list with his Killing Literature series. He has these books called Killing something. So anyway, Trump doesn't remember. This is so great. This is my pornography. This is light a candle and get what you need, because this is whatever you need. This is, I promise you, this is pornography. Donald Trump doesn't remember he appointed Jerome Powell as Fed chair. Well, here is an angry Bill O'Reilly, furious. This is last night, for the way the Biden administration handled the Jeffrey Epstein case. Here is Bill O'Reilly blaming the Democrats and the Biden Justice Department. Here is Bill O'Reilly attacking House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, calling Hakeem Jeffries a hypocrite because he's calling for the Epstein files to be released now while Pam Bondi is Attorney General. Because he's a Democrat, he kept it. This is Bill O'Reilly saying Hakeem Jeffries kept his mouth shut when Merrick Garland was the Attorney General under Biden, while Merrick Garland was prosecuting, see where we're going with this? While Merrick Garland was prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein, the hypocrisy of Hakeem Jeffries not to demand that Merrick Garland, who prosecuted Jeffrey Epstein, that he not release the Epstein files. This is pure, unadulterated pornography. Get the kids. Here we go.
The Biden administration had exactly the same thing the Trump administration has on Epstein. Exactly. Right. Because Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Not one time did Hakeem Jeffrey call for any exposition of what the Biden Justice Department knew. Not once. So this guy's a top phony, okay? He's a political player. He doesn't care about the truth. He doesn't care about the people.
Hold on. Bill.
This is what he does.
Hold on, Bill. Hold on. You said Epstein was convicted during the Biden administration. Epstein committed suicide during the Trump administration.
Yeah, so?
All right, so wait, it gets better. It gets better. This is just the foreplay, okay? Yeah, so, right? O'Reilly, again, going after Hakeem Jeffries. Hypocrisy, because Jeffries is calling for the files to be released now, and O'Reilly's demanding to know why Jeffries didn't push the Biden administration to release the files when it was the Biden administration prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein. But Epstein died before Biden became president.
Yeah, so?
Yeah. See, I love this. I absolutely love this. Never admit you're wrong. Never, no matter what the truth is, never say you're wrong. Here's the money shot.
Bill, I think this is important. Bill, I think this is important. He was arrested in 2019, and he committed suicide in 2019. He died August 10th of 2019. So the Biden administration was not involved in a conviction or a trial of him. They were in of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay. And that's a good point of clarification. But he was arrested and indicted under Merrick Garland.
No, under Trump.
Who had all of the information.
Epstein was arrested, indicted, and committed suicide under Trump in 2019. Trump was president. Merrick Garland was not the Attorney General.
Okay.
Oh, wow. I need to roll over and go to bed. I'm done. I'm spent. You were great. Thank you for that. Wow. I'll call you. I promise. That is as good as it gets. That is as good as it gets. How stupid do you have to be not to know that Merrick Garland had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Bill O'Reilly, you are an imbecile. You always were an imbecile. Anything you'd like to say in response?
Okay.
Thank you. At least we agree on that. Well, by the way, this is the Mop-Up. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you for finding me. Please like this episode so I remain in your feed. Share it. Subscribe to my channel, my newsletter. Hit the notifications bell so you know when this garbage is being posted. So, I don't believe the Epstein files will be the downfall of Donald Trump. I do know his supporters are turning on him, but remember last year they turned on Trump after he said he opposed a nationwide abortion ban and said a 6-week abortion ban was too harsh. Remember, he screamed at the evangelicals, and we all thought they would abandon him in Iowa during the caucuses, but he won Iowa. They stuck with him. They do. They stick with Trump no matter what. Trust me, it's looking bad, but Trump will find a distraction, probably involving people of color, and then his MAGA supporters will congeal around Trump like so many layers of cold burger grease. They will never leave his side, and he is running for a third term. He's not leaving. He can't, because he'll get prosecuted. He will. That being said, a new Quinnipiac poll shows 17% of registered voters now say they approve of how the Trump Justice Department is handling the Jeffrey Epstein files. 17% approve of the cover-up. That's how large the cover-up is. 17% of the United States is in the Jeffrey Epstein files. 40% of Republicans do approve of how Trump is handling it. There are reports that solid polling from inside the Democratic Party is showing 6 out of 10 Republican voters believe the current FBI is withholding key information in the Epstein files to protect powerful men. So, is this Donald Trump's Waterloo? If by Waterloo you mean the hit song by ABBA, yeah. Napoleon's defeat, never. Trump is very good at changing the subject. On Wednesday, he said of Epstein, he's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or the fascination is. I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. Oh, yeah, very boring, very boring. Then he turned on his MAGA supporters who he said that you guys won't drop it. He said the entire Epstein file thing is a hoax created by the Democrats, James Comey. He said, quote, my past supporters, he's talking about his supporters, his MAGA supporters, now in the past tense. My past supporters have bought into this BS, but he said the actual word. They bought into this bull, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. Yes, the whole Epstein thing, the lunatic left for 8 years created the whole Jeffrey Epstein story. And then, like a petulant child, Trump said, you know what? Forget it. This is what he said to his MAGA supporters. Forget you. You don't quit me. I quit you. He said, this is what he said to the MAGA weaklings. Let these MAGA weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. They don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success. What success? Inflation is up. You haven't signed one single trade deal. What success? And he goes, to hell with them. Quote, I don't want their support anymore. Then he, stormed out like a petulant child. Now, he finally calmed down and late Wednesday said, honestly, I don't understand why everyone is so upset about the Epstein files. It's a reasonable question. Well, maybe your son Don Jr. can explain. This is what Don Jr. just tweeted. Show us all the Epstein client lists now. Why would anyone protect those scumbags? Ask yourselves this question daily, and the answer becomes very apparent. Well, oh, I'm sorry. That was from 2 years ago. That was from 2 years ago. He didn't just tweet that. Things have changed, right? Why would anyone protect those scumbags? Asks Donald Trump Jr. Why would anyone protect those scumbags? Donald Trump Jr. asks. Is that any way to talk about your father? Boy, you've got Oedipal issues. You really do, Don Jr. I mean, just because your mother got pushed down a flight of steps, allegedly, that's what people are saying. I don't know I hope it's not true, but that's what I hear people saying. I don't know. I hope it's not true. But why would I hear myself saying it if it weren't true? So that Trump Jr. tweet was from 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, by the way, Bill O'Reilly, 2 years ago, that's when Joe Biden was president. Okay, Bill O'Reilly?
Yeah, so?
This is the Mop-Up. I'm David Feldman in New York City. Thank you for tuning in. Please do all the things I ask you to do. And blah, 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 blah. Like button, subscribe, and tell your friends. Gee, I can't understand why I'm not successful. Wired magazine now reporting 3 minutes are now missing from the supposed raw surveillance video shot outside Jeffrey Epstein's jail cell in the hours leading up to his death. That's the video the FBI released last week, promising full transparency. So first, we were told a minute was missing. Now it's 3 minutes. I guess in order to see who killed Jeffrey Epstein, we have to wait for the FBI director's cut. The FBI director's cut. See, instead of the director's cut, we did. All right, okay, all right. Hey, we're all depressed. So Trump is saying a lot of things. He says he has nothing to hide. He said he told reporters, he told Pam Bondi she should release the parts of the Epstein files that she thinks are credible. In other words, leave my name out of everything. When asked if she would release the rest of the files, now that your boss said you should, Pam Bondi said, quote, "Today our memo speaks for itself." Your memo speaks for itself. You can't even speak for yourself. Well, she's saying the case is closed. Speaker Mike Johnson appeared on a right-wing podcast saying Bondi should be more transparent when it comes to the Epstein files. But Mike Johnson is a liar. And so far, he has succeeded in blocking 2 attempts by Democrats to introduce motions on the floor that would demand the Epstein files be released. Jamie Raskin, the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, is urging the chairman of that committee, Jim Jordan, to demand to see the Epstein files. And that's going to happen right after we see the Ohio State wrestling files. House Republican Thomas Massie of Kentucky, one of only 2 Republicans who voted against the 2026 budget, is planning to circumvent Johnson and the Rules Committee by introducing a discharge petition forcing a vote on the Epstein files. A discharge petition for the Epstein files would require 218 signatures, and then they would have to vote on the bill. I'm not sure if Jeffrey Epstein and the words discharge should ever be used in the same sentence again. Lara Trump, the idiot wife of Trump's idiot son, Eric, Lara Trump said that Bondi should release the Epstein files now. Wow. Lara Trump biting the hand that feeds her diet pills. Lara is supposedly considering a run for Tom Tillis's North Carolina Senate seat. Tillis said he's quitting the Senate. It was either that or Trump would have him killed. A lot of death threats came Tom Tillis's way when he hinted that he was not going to vote for Pete Hegseth as Pentagon chief. Lauren Boebert, public intellectual Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman, in an interview Wednesday said Trump should appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the Epstein files. And she suggested that special prosecutor should be former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, seen here imitating Lauren Boebert watching the musical Beetlejuice while sitting next to two incredibly buff guys. That's not nice. I thought you two were friends. That's Matt Gaetz imitating Lauren Boebert watching Beetlejuice while sitting next to two incredibly buff guys. Where am I? Meanwhile, Deputy FBI Director Don Bongino, as we all know, screamed at Pam Bondi for not releasing the Epstein files last week, and then he didn't show up to work on Friday. Some say he didn't show up to work on Monday or Tuesday, begging the question, where's Baldo? Is Bongino going to quit? Nobody has seen nor heard from Bongino. Trump was asked if Bongino quit, and Trump said, I don't know, I think he's still working for us. You don't know if the deputy head of the FBI is working there or not? You know, I'm not a white-collar criminal, but given the current state of the FBI, now is as good a time as any for me to engage in check kiting. I think there's a lot of things I could get away with right now, especially with this moron, Kash Patel, who's the director of the FBI. There were rumors he was going to quit because Bondi wouldn't release the Epstein files, and then he, I don't know, a manila envelope with some photographs showed up on his desk, and he said, on second thought, I'm staying as FBI director. Here he is back in early 2025 before becoming FBI director.
You say that the FBI has Epstein's list. They're sitting on it. That doesn't seem like something you should do. You're protecting the world's foremost predator. That seems like an evil thing to do, regardless of who may be embarrassed in the release of that list. Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
And then, this is great, and then our FBI, this is before our FBI director became our FBI director, Kash Patel, blamed House Republicans for not demanding that the FBI turn over the Epstein files. Patel said it's really, really easy, and this is all they need to do.
Republicans could get Epstein's list out now? Like, how would that process work?
Simple. One subpoena to the FBI. Give me the list. Oh, you don't want to give me the list and you're going to break the law and commit contempt of Congress? We're going to take your money. We're going to take Chris Wray's private jet. Taxpayer-funded G5 rides across the country to his Appalachian State vacation home down to Georgia and all over the rest of the place. That guy doesn't need a G5 government-funded jet. And the second you take that money, you get Epstein's list.
Wow. What an imbecile. What a moron. This is the head of the FBI right now. Again, I don't condone crimes, but if you're thinking of counterfeiting American currency, in doing Medicaid fraud, cryptocurrency fraud, you will not find a better time than right now. This is the moment. You will never have a moment like this again. This is it. Wow. Well, obviously Pam Bondi is under a little pressure. I mean, look how much she aged in the past 4 days. Even her bottle of blonde dye turned gray. Again, she has been protecting Trump and Epstein, going all the way back to when she was Florida's Attorney General, right? Epstein's accusers came forward in Florida. We learned about the flight logs in Florida while she was the Attorney General. But she did nothing to prosecute Jeffrey Epstein. She also refused to participate in the Trump University lawsuit. That was right after she received an illegal campaign donation from Trump's charitable foundation. And then, when she was no longer Florida's Attorney General, she served as one of Trump's lawyers during his first impeachment. So Pam Bondi's all in on Donald Trump. She's not going anywhere, despite a lot of people coming after her, like this guy. This is Christian nationalist pastor Joel Webbin, big supporter of Donald Trump's. Doesn't like Pam Bondi. But he has a hot take. It's hard to come up with a hot take on the Epstein files and Pam Bondi, but Christian nationalist pastor Joel Webbin, he has the best take on this.
It's like, well, I disagree with Pam Bondi because I think she's hiding the Epstein files. And I'd be like, yeah, but also I don't like Pam Bondi because she's a woman. And she shouldn't be in public, not in politics. You know, like the meme is like, you and I are not the same. You don't like it for this reason. I don't like, it's like, oh, I don't like Pam Bondi because of her positions. I'm like, I don't like Pam Bondi because she needs to be at home.
You know, he does have a point about her staying home. Thank you to Right Wing Watch for finding that one. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is working the phones, calling mainline MAGA supporters, telling them to drop the Epstein files talk. Stop it. He got on the phone with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, who hosts his own podcast. He runs Turning Points. And the day after Trump called Kirk and said, stop talking about the Epstein files, Charlie Kirk said this.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
Yes, trust the government. That's what the whole MAGA movement is about. Trust the government. Well, this is Dinesh D'Souza, the right-wing agitator who was pardoned by Donald Trump back in 2018 after D'Souza was convicted for making illegal campaign contributions. He said this on the very same day that Charlie Kirk said that.
I'm going to talk about the Epstein files, and I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is, in fact, time to move on.
It's almost as though they don't have the capability to think for themselves. So what's in the Epstein files? What's in them? Joining me is fan favorite. People love this guy. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung. This is Stephen Chung, White House Communications Director, our old friend. And Stephen Chung, tell us what exactly, please tell us what exactly is in the Epstein files.
Beefy 5-layer burrito, seasoned beef nacho cheese sauce, sour cream beans, and shredded cheddar cheese in a flour tortilla. Burrito Supreme. Seasoned beef, beans, red sauce, lettuce, shredded cheddar cheese, onions, and tomatoes in a flour tortilla. Cheesy bean and rice burrito. Seasoned rice, refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, and creamy jalapeno sauce in a flour tortilla. Crunchwrap Supreme, flour tortilla, layered with seasoned beef, warm nacho cheese sauce, a crispy tostada shell, crispy lettuce, ripe tomatoes, and topped with cool reduced fat sour cream, all wrapped in Taco Bell's signature Crunchwrap fold and grilled to go.
So that's why they're keeping it secret. Donald Trump?
I had Alzheimer's disease. What's this moron's excuse?
When did he get a British accent? I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak. I believe, just to be full disclosure here, I think that might have been AI and not really full disclosure. I think that was not Stephen Chung. I think I might have manipulated the photograph using artificial. I did. I know I fooled a lot of you, but that really is Stephen Chung's face. That is Donald Trump's White House Communications Director, Stephen Chung. Former underwear model, Stephen Chung. And I believe this, you tell me, is this artificial intelligence?
I had Alzheimer's disease. What's this moron's excuse?
Does Trump have a British accent? All right, full disclosure, I think that might be artificial intelligence. Okay, that's it. Show's over. I'm done. Please like this. I'm going to do another show tomorrow. Please like this episode. Please share it. Leave a comment. I read all your comments. If I made any mistakes, let me know. I issue corrections on this show. And wait. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Thank you to Bob and Mila in the chat room for keeping the conversation civil.